A lot of people are curious about what's actually different between twin sisters. I can prove that twins have identical facial features and body structure. The only real difference is their personalities. Some people have also asked me, if you marry twin sisters and get them mixed up, what do you do? My answer is simple. If you mess it up, then you mess it up. I mess it up all the time, to mess with the mindset of the Lu sisters. I deliberately said in front of everyone. So, have the three of you decided yet? Which one of you is going to marry into my family? They shoved responsibility onto one another, their faces full of undisguised disdain. However, just as I was about to randomly pick one, a little girl suddenly popped out beside me. She claimed she came from 8 years in the future. She said, "Daddy, I finally found you." She hugged my leg and burst into loud sobs. Then turned to look at the Lu triplet sisters. She said, "Mommy, you're here too. You really love Daddy so much. You cling to him wherever he goes. No wonder the moment Daddy didn't want you anymore, you ran off to the rooftop to calm down." Hey, wait. The little girl suddenly widened her eyes. She said, "Why do I have 3 moms?" Chapter 1. The entire hall fell into a deathly silence. No one knew how much time passed before the eldest of the triplets, Freya, reacted first. "Hey, you little brat, what nonsense are you spouting?" Then she looked at me coldly and said, "I get it now. George, this is some child actor you hired, right? I'm not wasting my time on you." I was just about to argue back when the little girl got angry. She said, "Mom, look at you again, throwing a childish tantrum. Emma isn't going to coax you this time." Freya snapped. "Who are you calling Mom?" The girl replied, "If it's not you, then it's her, or her." She poked the triplets one by one with her chubby little hand. She said, "When Mommy and the aunties stand together, Emma can't tell them apart." I asked, "Then you at least remember your mom's name, right?" She thought for a moment and said, I only know her last name is Lu." Freya rolled her eyes. "You don't even know her name, and you still say this isn't an act?" The little girl panicked and said, "That's because she always calls herself Daddy's good little puppy." Chapter 2. I took a sip of water and almost sprayed it out. Is that really something you can just say out loud? The expressions on the Lu sisters' faces all turned ugly. Normally, such an absurd story would never make anyone believe it, but unfortunately, this little girl's appearance was practically a miniature version of them. Looking closely at her brows and eyes, she even resembled Uncle Lu and Aunt Lu quite a bit. The little girl tugged on my sleeve and asked, "Daddy, which one is my mom?" I replied, "How would I know? My brain is about to crash. How could I possibly answer a question this advanced?" Emma suddenly clapped her hands and said, "Oh right, I remember now." At this point in time, Mom and Dad's relationship was still really bad, because Uncle Makoto was always going against Dad, secretly tripping him up. And Mom even helped him as an accomplice. Later on, Mom regretted it for a very, very long time. Chapter 3. It was like a chain of bombs had just gone off. The venue fell into deathly silence once again. My nominal younger brother, Makoto, immediately panicked. He said, "Little girl, don't talk nonsense." The little girl replied, "I'm not talking nonsense. My dad is allergic to seafood." "But you put seafood soy sauce into his bowl." At that moment, there was a bowl of dipping sauce right in front of me. Makoto had just brought it over earlier. I had to admit, Makoto really knew how to ingratiate himself. Serving tea, pouring drinks, passing dishes, offering toasts. The moment he opened his mouth, he gave off the vibe of a small figure with grand ambitions. Father had even praised him specially. He said, "Although Makoto isn't our biological son, he's better than one. He's honest and dependable, and he's always been helping his older brother integrate into the family. George, you should learn a thing or two from your brother when it comes to dealing with people." Emma picked up the bowl of dipping sauce and ran over to Simon. "Grandpa, if you don't believe me, try it yourself." Simon was completely stunned, but before he could say anything, the little girl turned around and called out to the family's chef, "Forget it. Let Uncle Elio do it instead." "Uncle Elio, smell it for me. Is there seafood soy sauce in here?" The Wong family's chef was named Elio, and he had worked here for nearly 10 years. After smelling it, Elio nodded firmly. "Yes, that's right. I just bought a new seafood soy sauce. This is exactly the smell." In an instant, everyone's gaze turned toward Makoto. With a panicked expression, he said, "I just forgot that my big brother is allergic. I absolutely didn't do it on purpose. Young Master Wong, in the end, it's all my fault. You can hit me or scold me, I'll accept it." As he spoke, it looked like he was about to kneel down right in front of me. Freya shot me an annoyed glare, frowned slightly, and said, "I believe Makoto. He's not that kind of person." Yes, I believe Makoto too. The second sister, Laura, spoke up as well. The third sister, Willow Lou, followed immediately. She rolled her eyes and said, "A random wild girl who popped out of nowhere says a few words. And you actually believe her?" The three of them stood up, clearly intending to leave together with Makoto. Before leaving, Willow pointed 2 fingers at her own eyes, then at me. The meaning was obvious. She would be watching us closely, and I'd better not let her find out that this child was some actor I hired. But honestly, I was even more curious than they were about what was really going on with this kid. After all, I wasn't interested in a single one of the Lu sisters. Chapter 4. The reason the 3 Lu sisters despise me is because for the first 23 years of my life, I lived in the countryside, keeping horses for company. It wasn't until 3 months ago that I was finally taken back by the Wang family. I still remember the day I returned. Makoto, right in front of everyone, asked me with an extremely guilty look, "Brother, I've taken your place for so many years, you don't mind, right?" I said, "I do." Makoto clearly didn't expect me to be that blunt. With a thud, he dropped straight to his knees. The 3 sisters couldn't bear to see it, and from that moment on, they became hostile toward me. But I was just telling the truth. Makoto was a child adopted from an orphanage. It was only because he looked somewhat like me that my parents noticed him. By then, I had already been missing for 3 years. To ease their longing, my parents adopted him and let him take my place. Makoto was filial and well-behaved, but there was one thing. Every time my parents ran around trying to search for me again, Makoto would suddenly come down with headaches or fevers, always managing to hold them back. Over time, the matter of looking for me was gradually pushed aside. Makoto comfortably enjoyed the status of crown prince of the Wang family for all these years. Now that I was back, it was time for him to wake up and realize whose benefits he had been living off. As for the Lu family next door, the Wang and Lu families had a marriage alliance. Originally, the one meant to marry the Lu heiress was Makoto. Now, it had been switched to me. The 4 of them were extremely unhappy about it. Coincidentally, so was I. Every time I saw the 3 sisters going full love brain mode, circling around Makoto and fighting for his favor, I seriously wondered whether heaven was planning to wipe out the Lu family. How could people be this stupid? Take right now, for example, the day after the family banquet ended. Emma's DNA had already been sent for testing, though the results weren't out yet. And yet, the 3 sisters had already run over to Makoto to prove their own innocence. "Who do you think is Emma's mother?" someone asked. The second sister, Laura, said with absolute certainty, "First of all, rule me out. I'm allergic to country bumpkins. There's no way I'd let him touch even a finger of mine." The eldest sister, Freya, said, "It can't be me either." Her tone was cold and distant as she lightly pushed up her silver-rimmed glasses. She said, "Even if there were no other men left in the world, I still wouldn't be with him." Willow spoke up too, looking thoroughly displeased. "Why are you all staring at me? I've always hated George the most. Making me marry him and have his kids? You might as well just kill me." Freya concluded. "This has to be a scam," she said. "There's no such thing as time travel. George deliberately found a child who looks like us, because he was afraid none of the 3 of us would agree to the marriage." Laura echoed her. "He really will stop at nothing just to get us." Willow nodded. "Yeah, I think so too. What utter bullshit." Each and every one of them really thought they were clever. Talking trash behind people's backs, without even bothering to lower their voices. Absolutely hopeless. I was sitting just inside the window, sharing snacks with Emma. I lowered my head and asked her, "They're saying things like that about the 2 of us. Why aren't you upset at all?" Emma said calmly, "There's nothing to be upset about." She swung her little legs, completely unfazed. "The time is almost here." I asked. "What time?" She said, "The time when mommy falls in love with daddy." I frowned. "How do you know that?" The little girl looked smug and proud. "Because I secretly read mommy's diary." Chapter 5. I was just about to say that secretly reading someone's diary was wrong, when suddenly, from behind me, Willow's resentful voice rang out. She said, "Anyway, I've been fed up with George for a long time now. Once the test results come out, I'm definitely settling accounts with him." Sigh. Beside her, Makoto, who had been silent for quite a while, let out a soft sigh. The others immediately asked anxiously, "What's wrong, Makoto?" Makoto said, "I was just thinking, even if everything that child said turns out to be fake, the marriage alliance is still something you can't avoid." The 3 sisters fell silent for a moment. Freya was the first to state her position. "Either way, I don't agree. I want to marry Makoto." Laura snorted coldly. "TCH, the one Makoto actually wants to marry is obviously me, right?" Willow spoke in a mocking, sarcastic tone. "What do you 2 have to do with it? It's obviously me." Makoto impatiently pinched the bridge of his nose and said, "Enough, stop arguing. Big brother chooses first, only after that does it become my turn. Arguing about this is pointless," Laura said in an aggrieved tone. "But Makoto, how can you bear to?" Makoto shook his head and raised his hand to cut her off. "George is the Wong family's real son. I took his place in his parents' affection for so many years. Letting him choose first is only right. TSK. I had to admit, it really was hard not to like Makoto's attitude just now, even though it was obviously an act. Still, hearing words like that genuinely made people happy, since my dear little brother was being so magnanimous. As the older brother, I couldn't possibly waste his kind intentions. I stood up and tapped on the window. I said, "Sorry to interrupt, little brother. Were you serious about what you just said?" Willow looked annoyed. "How can you eavesdrop on other people's conversations?" I smiled. "I heard it anyway. Got a problem? If you do, hold it in." She could only glare at me furiously. I turned back to Makoto and asked, "What you just said, you meant it, right?" Makoto nodded. He said, "Of course I meant it. I know I owe you, big brother. I took your position and your family affection. So now, no matter what it is, as long as you want it, I'm willing to give it to you." I nodded. "That's great." I stretched out my hand and pointed at the 3 idiots from the Liu family. I said, "Since they're currently candidates for my fiancé, that means they could become your sisters-in-law in the future. So before I make my choice, please keep your distance from them. George, are you insane? George, are you sick in the head?" Makoto also stared at me wide-eyed, unable to believe his ears. He said, "But the few of us grew up together. We've always had a great relationship. Oh, here we go again. The pure friendship routine. Huh. Like I don't know how to play that card too." Just as I was about to beat him at his own game, Emma suddenly spoke up beside me. She said, "You just said out loud that you'd give things to my daddy. Were you lying to us?" The little kid looked up with round, grape-like eyes, clean, clear, and innocent. Then she turned her head to look at the 3 sisters. She said, "Mommy taught Emma that lying is bad, right, Mommy?" Willow screeched, "Who are you calling Mommy?" She had completely lost her patience. Among the 3 sisters, Willow had the most beagle-like personality, overflowing with energy and barking non-stop. She shouted, "George, don't push people too far. I've only been tolerating you out of respect for Makoto. Apologize to Makoto right now, or else." But the very next second, Emma said, "Wait, I remember now." Her eyes lit up. She said, "Mommy talks a lot, could it be you?" Willow was speechless. Her entire face flushed bright red. Yet she couldn't squeeze out a single word. Just then, the butler came running over in a panic. He said, "The DNA test results are out. That child's biological father is indeed George." Everyone's attention snapped toward him at once. Waiting for what he would say next, he continued, "But the child's mother is." The butler paused slightly, as if it were difficult to say. Then he said, "All 3 of you are her mothers." Chapter 6. How could this be? Freya and Laura spoke at the same time. Willow rolled her eyes. "Don't you get it yet? Someone tampered with the test results and is messing with us." "Who? Me?" Was this woman actually brainless? I couldn't be bothered to respond to her. Instead, I looked at the butler and said, "Because they're triplets, right?" "That's correct." The butler nodded and explained. "The doctor said that because the 3 young ladies are identical triplets, their genetic makeup is completely the same. So no matter how many tests are run, Emma will show a biological parent-child relationship with all 3 of you." Silence slowly spread through the living room. This meant that even the most scientific method couldn't determine who Emma's biological mother really was. The problem circled back to Emma herself. If she could provide some specific details, wouldn't that narrow it down? I crouched down and gently coaxed Emma. "Do you remember any traits or hobbies your mom has?" Emma frowned her chubby little face and thought for a moment. She said, "She sometimes wears glasses." Everyone's gaze instantly shifted to Freya. Among the 3 sisters, Freya had the most refined and gentle temperament, and she usually wore a pair of silver-rimmed glasses. Emma paused, then added, "She also likes singing." Wait, the one who liked singing was Laura. She had even debuted as a singer last year. Emma continued, "Mom also likes collecting all kinds of luxury handbags. She takes me shopping every day. Buy. This time, Willow's expression cracked, because among the 3 of them, she was the only one obsessed with collecting designer bags. Willow pouted and said irritably, "Hey, little brat. Everything you've said fits all 3 of us. Are you sure you're not lying?" She looked fierce, glaring straight at Emma, but Emma wasn't scared at all. She even held up her ice cream and asked, "Want some?" Willow puffed up angrily. I'm talking about something serious here, Emma replied casually. Hey, why are you in such a hurry? From that chubby little face. I somehow saw absolute composure. She said calmly. Does it really matter who my mom is? Anyway, you're all going to fight over marrying my dad in the future, and becoming my stepmoms. I've already gotten used to it. I was speechless. Chapter 7. The little girl truly lived up to the saying, never shocking people without meaning to. Makoto looked like he was about to pass out from hearing it all. Emma even added more details. She said, every time I'm alone with the aunties, they always tell me, Emma, when I marry your dad in the future, I'll be your mom. Will you take me home to meet your dad? Okay. But daddy says a mistress is still a mistress, someone who can never come into the light, so he never lets them step into the house. Nonsense. What mistress? Freya frowned. There's no way I'd ever do something like that. Same here. Laura snorted coldly. I'm a celebrity. Okay. The rich and handsome guys chasing me could line up all the way to France. Do I really need to be someone's mistress? Willow also scoffed. Anyway, it can't be me. Even if I were a mistress, I'd never be that pathetic. Makoto, who had been silent all this time, finally spoke. He squatted down, clearly trying to appear gentle and approachable in front of everyone. He said, Emma, do you know who I'll marry in the future? Emma looked at him with eyes like round grapes. There wasn't even the slightest smile on her little face. She said, I don't know. She shook her head and continued. Because in the end, we're not a family. What did that mean? Makoto's expression froze in shock. Freya immediately tried to smooth things over. Makoto, don't listen to her nonsense. There isn't a single reliable word coming out of this kid's mouth. Laura reacted as well and said, exactly. I can't believe I wasted so much time listening to a little liar ramble on. I'd rather go on a date with Makoto instead. Makoto, want to hear me sing? Willow narrowed her eyes. From the very beginning, this whole time travel thing was fake, wasn't it? Willow was just about to keep yapping. Suddenly, the butler stopped her. Third miss, that's not something you should say, she asked. Why not? The butler replied. Miss, have you forgotten? Chairman Liu has been investing in a time machine project all along. Willow frowned. So what? That doesn't prove anything. A time machine? My eyes widened instantly. If a time machine project were to succeed, its impact would be enormous. Emma's appearance meant that, in the future, this project did succeed, but a classified project like that wasn't something just anyone could participate in. At last, I'd found something about the Liu family that made them worth marrying. This marriage alliance. It had to happen. Chapter 8. That night, my adoptive mother, who was far away at the horse ranch in the northwest, video called me. She said, David, you look thinner. Are you not used to the food there? My adoptive father heard that and immediately leaned into the camera. Let me see. Son, oh my, you really are thinner. What's going on? Dad will ship a few sheep over to you so you can nourish yourself, my adoptive mother said helplessly. Tisk, you old man, if you send him sheep, how is he supposed to deal with them? My adoptive father replied. Doesn't the Wong family have chefs? If not, I'll send one over too, my adoptive mother laughed. Then you might as well send him a barbecue master while you're at it. I think that'll work. Throw in someone who pulls hand-pulled noodles and another who cooks pilaf. I hurriedly interrupted them. Mom, Dad, I'm doing just fine here. You really don't need to worry, my adoptive father asked. David, have they been giving you a hard time? I replied. No, my adoptive mother hesitated, then said, David, if you run into any trouble, you must tell us. Remember, we'll always have your back. My nose stung. For the past 23 years, my name hadn't been George, it was David. After being kidnapped by human traffickers, I once managed to escape, but because I hadn't eaten properly for days, I collapsed on the roadside. It was my adoptive parents who found me and took me home. They gave me the best life they could, and more than enough love. From a very young age, I knew I wasn't related to them by blood, but I never once felt like an outsider. In my heart, they were my real parents. When the Wong family finally found me this time, my mom said to me, David, go see the outside world. Don't keep trapping yourself at the ranch. I lowered my head in silence, unwilling to leave, but she said, I'm a mother too. I understand the pain of losing a child. David, you have to look forward. From now on, you'll have 2 sets of parents. The 4 of us will all love you very much. But she guessed wrong. What the Wong family felt toward me was more guilt than love. I closed my eyes and forcibly suppressed the emotion surging up inside me. I said, don't worry, you know my personality. How would they dare bully me? My adoptive father said, good, that's fine, son. Dad just transferred another $5 million into your card. The Wong family is poor, don't look down on them. If you get hungry, just treat yourself to something extra, I replied. Got it, Dad. I'm not the type who looks down on people for being poor or rich, my dad added. And about that marriage alliance, if you don't like those Lu girls, come back and Dad will find you some new ones. Absolutely. I smiled and cut him off. The Lu family invested in a pretty good project. I plan to give it a try and see if I can make it mine. My dad was speechless. What project needs that much trouble? Just sell 20 or 30 of our purebred horses. That should be enough to buy their whole company. Right? I said. Dad, this isn't something money alone can solve. Let me try on my own first, he replied. All right. You've always had your own ideas. If you're short on money, just tell Dad. After hanging up, I noticed a new message on WeChat. Makoto had pulled me into a small 4-person group chat and asked, Big brother, you've never been to a first-tier city horse ranch before, right? It's totally different from the countryside ones you've seen. How about bringing Emma along tomorrow to have some fun? Him taking the initiative to contact me. What good intentions could he possibly have? I asked, are the 3 of them going? Makoto replied, all of us are going, I answered. All right then, I'll go too. I was just worrying about not having a chance to test those 3 sisters, and now, wasn't the opportunity being delivered straight to my doorstep? Chapter 9. The next day, we arrived at the horse ranch. There were a lot of people. Almost all the rich second-generation kids in City C who were around Makoto's age had been invited. As Makoto introduced me, he said, this is my brother, George. He's never really seen pedigree horses before. So I brought him here to broaden his horizons. One of Makoto's buddies immediately picked up the conversation. The horses here are insanely expensive. What if he scares one of them? Who's taking responsibility then? Makoto hesitated. Well, this. He frowned helplessly and said, I believe my brother isn't someone who lacks boundaries. I hope everyone can be a bit more accommodating. Someone else chimed in. I heard your brother used to feed horses. Makoto nodded. Yes, that person said. I don't mean anything by it. But the kind of horses he raised before are probably very different from the ones we're riding today, right? All around me, people shot me skeptical looks. Pedigree horses, in the eyes of the wealthy, are symbols of status. The purer the bloodline, the more expensive they are, requiring meticulous care and maintenance. Makoto took the initiative to smooth things over for me. Don't be like this. My brother does have a lot he doesn't understand yet. Just teach him more. Someone laughed and said, but a lot of the horses here were bred by the Chan family. Are you sure about that? At that, I finally turned my gaze toward them. I asked, the Chan family? He replied, yeah, you've probably never heard of them, right? They're the top breeders of pedigree horses in our country. Their horses have the purest bloodlines. Ordinary horses can't even compare, but they and their family are extremely low-key. So it's normal if you haven't heard of them. The most expensive horse from the Chan family was auctioned for over $20 million. I didn't say anything. Makoto's buddy sneered. Didn't expect horses to be worth that much money. Huh? Scared speechless. Right. Actually, not at all. The horse they were talking about, I'd ridden it when it was still young. This kind of pointless comparison and flaunting didn't interest me in the slightest. Using the excuse of changing clothes, I headed straight into the locker room. Emma had gone to the children's riding area, where professionals would be supervising her. As I was changing into my riding outfit, I suddenly heard faint voices outside. Will this really work? It was Willow's voice. Rare to hear her sound so uncertain. A man's voice followed. Don't worry, I arranged it in advance. The women's locker room sign has been swapped with the men's. George won't notice. Willow, all you need to do is go in. Scream in shock. Then come out and say George is a pervert who deliberately sneaked into the women's locker room. It was Makoto's voice. Willow sounded hesitant. But Makoto, isn't this deliberate framing? You said George has been humiliating you and wants to drive you out behind the scenes. That's why I agreed to help you deal with him. But you didn't say this was how we do it. Makoto asked. Willow, don't you want to drive George away? His tone returned to that gentle, refined warmth as he said, I don't have any other choice. I can only make him embarrass himself in front of everyone. Then, fine. Willow finally agreed. Footsteps slowly approached. I deliberately left the door slightly ajar, so Willow would notice me. The moment she opened the door, I lunged forward and clamped my hand tightly over her mouth. Chapter 10. Facing the lights, I narrowed my eyes slightly. This Willow, to make the act more convincing. She had actually taken off her outerwear and walked in wearing only a white camisole. I had to admit, her figure was actually pretty good. I reached back, shut the door, and locked it tight. Leaning close to her ear, I said in a low voice, you want to pin me as a pervert? Fine, I'll give you the chance. As I spoke, I loosened my hand from her mouth, and at the same time let my fingers slide down along her back. Willow's eyes flew wide open. Staring at me in disbelief, I smiled and said, "Go on, scream. Say there's a pervert in here." My touch was very light, barely applying any force at all. I was almost just using my fingertips. Slowly tracing along her skin, Willow's body gradually heated up. I said, "Why aren't you saying anything?" Makoto must be getting impatient. Or is it that? I curled my lips into a smile and looked at her. Or is it that you're actually enjoying being touched by me? Willow bit her lip. Go. George, you, stop. But her voice was weak and breathless. I was very obedient and stopped immediately, just as she looked confused about why I had really stopped. My hand went back again. This time, it went a little lower. Drawing a slow circle along her waist, Willow's body stiffened instantly. A faint tremor running through her, I said. Joking aside, I've actually always thought, you're better than your sisters. Whether it's your figure, or your personality, you're just a bit hot-tempered. But I happen to like fiery horses. People say you have a bad temper, because they don't understand you, but I do. I understand you. You're just doing everything you can, because you don't want to lose to them. I let out a quiet sigh. My breath curling around Willow's ear, I said. Actually, I quite like you, but if you don't like me, that's fine. I've never been someone who forces others. I withdrew my hand and took a step back. Smiling at her, hurry up and call someone. Then, if you hesitate any longer, I'll be leaving. Chapter 11. Willow didn't call for anyone in the end. She left the changing room with her clothes in disarray. Makoto asked her, "What's wrong?" She didn't say a single word. Her face flushed red as she ran off. Just as I'd predicted, Willow may have the shortest fuse, but she's also the easiest to control. People who wear their emotions plainly on their faces usually have the simplest minds. Otherwise, why would Makoto choose her as his pawn instead of the other two? Back at the edge of the paddock, Willow didn't dare look at me the entire time. Her usual fierce expression had completely vanished. Whenever she accidentally met my gaze, her ears would turn so red they looked like they were about to bleed. Oh right, I suddenly remembered. Willow has never been in a relationship. What just happened? Might it have been a bit too intense for her? Boss, Makoto suddenly spoke up, interrupting my thoughts. He said, "There are a few horses over there. You can pick one." I looked up. By the fence stood three tall, imposing stallions. The brown one was visibly gentle at a glance, but Makoto and his friends were urging from the side. "Pick the black one, so domineering." "Yeah, the black one really suits your vibe. Come on, just bring the black one over." They never intended to let me choose at all. The black horse had a nasty temper. Even the staff struggled a bit to lead it over. When the reins were handed to me, Willow suddenly tugged at my sleeve and stopped me. "Don't choose this one," I asked. "Why?" "You." She turned her head away, not looking at me, and said awkwardly, "You're a beginner, aren't you? You should really pick a gentler one." I laughed. "I grew up around horses. How am I a beginner?" She hesitated. "Anyway, just don't pick this one. Seems like the little black one had quite a reputation." Willow tried to persuade me again, but Makoto cut in, saying, "Willow, if boss likes this one, just let him ride it. He already said he's not a beginner." Willow shook her head. "No, you can't." But before she could finish, a scream suddenly came from the distance. Laura's voice. "Help, the horse is out of control." Chapter 12. Laura's horse was called Stephen. She had already mounted him long before we finished changing clothes. But something was off with Stephen today. He was unusually irritable, completely unresponsive to commands. A few violent rearings nearly flung Laura straight off his back. Everyone froze. The horses here were usually highly trained. A dangerous scene like this had never happened before. I snatched the reins of Little Black and vaulted onto his back. Before anyone else could react, Little Black shot forward like lightning, charging straight toward Laura. Little Black was incredibly fast, practically on par with a competition horse. No wonder he was so hard to control, but I knew he could go even faster. I hadn't ridden a horse in 3 months. The wind of Sea City wasn't as fierce as the grasslands, but it still made my heart swell rapidly. When a person gets excited, the horse senses it too. Little Black accelerated into a wild gallop, catching up head-on before Stephen completely lost it. "Hold tight," I shouted. Laura's face had gone deathly pale, but after hearing me, she clung desperately to the reins. I threw the lasso, precisely looping it around Stephen's neck. He struggled even more violently, but this wasn't the first time I'd broken him. I had met him when he was very young. That's right, if I wasn't mistaken, Stephen was a horse I had raised myself. After several rounds of tugging, Stephen seemed to recognize my voice. Gradually, he calmed down. He lightly pawed the ground and lowered his head in front of me. Laura almost crawled off the saddle. Her legs were so weak she couldn't even stand straight. "You okay?" I asked casually. She replied in a trembling voice. I'm fine." She lifted her eyes and suddenly froze, because the Stephen who had been violently out of control just moments ago was now gently pressing his forehead against mine. Makoto and his group finally arrived at this point. He said sternly, "George, what are you doing? Stop it. Don't provoke him. If he goes wild again and something happens to Laura, how are you going to take responsibility?" Laura waved her hand and said, "Makoto, you misunderstood. George saved me." Makoto frowned. "How is that possible? Stephen is such a valuable breed. How could he listen to him?" I raised my eyes and looked at Makoto coldly. I asked, "Do you know why Stephen went berserk?" He asked in confusion. "Why?" I said. "You were smoking just now, weren't you? He's been allergic to that kind of smell since he was young." Chapter 13. Makoto clenched his teeth and refused to admit, no matter what, that he had been smoking. He said, "I got smoked out by someone else on the way here." I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. I simply reminded him, "Before coming to the stables, the staff should have told you, smoking is strictly prohibited. Not just because the hay and feed are highly flammable, but because horses are extremely sensitive to smells and can be easily startled. What you did was putting everyone's safety under a horse's hooves." Makoto snapped in embarrassment and anger. I already fucking said it had nothing to do with me. The atmosphere turned stiff. One of Makoto's lackeys rolled his eyes and smoothly changed the subject. He said, "George, you said Stephen's been allergic to that kind of smell since he was little. How do you know that?" I replied. I raised him. After dropping that line, I walked away without looking back. After what had happened to Laura, no one was in the mood to keep playing, so everyone headed into the lounge to chat instead. I settled Stephen down first before going inside. I casually remarked that it was really hot. 2 bottles of mineral water were handed to me at the same time. Willow and Laura looked at each other in surprise. Laura explained, "I was just trying to thank George. He saved me earlier." Willow stammered, I didn't really have a reason. Just handed it over instinctively." Both of them guiltily shifted their gazes away. Freya saw the whole scene. She frowned, as if she wanted to say something. When I got up to go outside for some air, she followed me. Just as expected, she asked, "What happened between you and Willow?" Freya really was the sharpest of the 3 sisters. Very perceptive. I countered, "What does it have to do with you?" She said, "If you don't want to say it, fine, but I'm warning you, don't get any inappropriate ideas about them. None of us are interested in you." I smiled. "Don't worry, I definitely won't pick you." Freya froze instantly. "What did you say?" I shrugged. "I'll pick Laura. Or Willow, but never you. You're the first one I ruled out." She asked, "Why?" I said, "Willow has a better figure than you. Laura knows how to dress better than you. Other than being born a few minutes earlier, what advantage do you actually have?" I was just stating facts. So why did Freya completely lose it? She shrieked. "I've never seen a man with such terrible taste. Freya Liu, a proper heiress of the Liu family, have ranked first in my grade since elementary school. Since university, I've been drowning in scholarships, and I'm about to further my studies at one of the top institutions in the world. George, look at me and tell me, how am I inferior to them?" I clicked my tongue. Yes, fine, you're good at studying. All right, but being good at studying isn't an advantage to me. Between men and women, what matters is attraction. Do you understand? You have 0 attraction to me," she protested angrily. "How is there no attraction? The 3 of us look exactly the same. Where do I fall short? Say it. I didn't answer, just swept my gaze over her from head to toe, meaning, everywhere. Freya was completely triggered. She puffed up with rage and declared, "You don't understand me at all. I've decided, I'm going to marry you. Tomorrow, no. Today, I'm telling my parents I have to marry you." I jumped in fright and hurriedly tried to stop her. Just then, Emma came hopping over. She said, Dad. I suddenly remembered something about Mom. Chapter 14. Everyone in the room was drawn to Emma's words. Freya, Laura, and Willow all tensed up at the same time. Emma said, "Dad, I suddenly remembered, Auntie has a small mole on her face, but Mommy doesn't." She gestured under her own eye for a long while. Then she turned to look at the 3 sisters. She said, "Yes, it's you." She reached out and pointed straight at Freya. She said, "You have a mole. You're Auntie, not Mommy." I asked, "Emma, are you sure?" She said, "I'm sure. The one with a mole is not Mommy." That ruled out one wrong answer. I let out a breath of relief. Great, so future me really didn't choose Freya after all. To be honest, I hadn't lied just now. Among the 3 of them, the one I least wanted to choose was her, because Freya was smarter than the other 2, and what I was looking for was a purely decorative vase, a wife who could become my leverage. Someone who would allow me to gradually infiltrate the Liu family. After hearing Emma's words, Makoto looked delighted. Great. I knew Freya would never agree to a marriage alliance. How about celebrating tonight? The moment he turned his head, he saw Freya's face flushed red with rage. Freya rarely showed that kind of expression in front of him. He panicked a little, and could only redirect his anger at me. He ground his teeth and said, "George, stop right there." I asked, "What else is there?" I was already holding Emma's hand, about to head home. He said, "That horse is very expensive. The way you used the lasso just now was extremely rough. The vet needs to check him. If he's injured, you'll be held responsible." Laura shook her head. "No need. I'm grateful to him if anything. Why would I ask him to pay?" Makoto frowned. No. He knew nothing and still went ahead and roped Steven, completely disregarding your safety. I really couldn't stand watching that. Laura rolled her eyes. "If you couldn't stand it, I didn't see you coming to help me." Makoto froze for a moment. I just didn't react in time." He instinctively looked toward his friends, trying to get their support, but no one spoke. Instead, a few people walked up to me and asked, "Can we add you on WeChat? We should hang out sometime." Just as Makoto found himself completely isolated, the stable manager came out. Makoto looked like he'd found a savior and hurriedly asked, "Is Steven injured?" "Don't worry, I didn't let the culprit get away." But the manager ignored him entirely and rushed toward me in excitement. He said, "Young Master Chan, young Master David Chan, why didn't you give us a heads up before coming?" Chapter 15. I asked politely, "Hello, may I ask who you are?" He said, "You may not know me, but I know you. A few years ago, our stable was struggling to stay afloat. It was your father who invested in us and even sold us several horses at a low price. That's how we managed to survive. Without the Chan family, there wouldn't be a stable like ours today." I honestly had no impression of it. My dad was a warm-hearted person. Whenever he saw someone in trouble, he'd usually lend a hand, never expecting anything in return. I chatted casually with the manager for a bit, about this year's foal births. Meanwhile, everyone around us was completely stunned. Makoto's lackey was the first to snap out of it. He said, "Makoto, are you out of your fucking mind? Why didn't you tell me he was David? You even had me gang up on him. Were you trying to get me killed?" Makoto shot back, "I didn't. I only just found out myself." Someone asked, "So did you secretly smoke earlier or not?" "Yeah, you owe us an explanation," another person said. "He's David." No wonder Steven listened to him. The crowd erupted into overlapping chatter. The three Liu sisters all wore complicated expressions. They were probably replaying their earlier disdain and contempt in their minds. In the end, it was Willow, the most straightforward one, who spoke up first. She said, "Makoto, you told us earlier that George had been badmouthing and humiliating you behind your back because he coveted your family's assets. Was that a lie?" Makoto looked flustered. "No, I didn't lie." I asked in confusion. "I badmouthed you behind your back. When was that? Don't I usually insult you to your face?" I raised an eyebrow in curiosity. "And besides, what assets of yours are even worth my coveting?" Makoto's face turned deathly pale. He stammered for a long time, unable to come up with a single convincing lie. At that point, the truth was fully exposed. Willow pressed her lips together, walked up to me, lowered her head, and said in a serious tone, "I apologize for what happened before." "I'm sorry." Freya and Laura followed with their apologies as well, in front of everyone. Chapter 16. The night we returned from the stables, I received several messages on my phone. Freya sent, "I've thought it over again and again, and I really don't think I'm inferior. Considering social status and family background, I'm actually the best choice, aren't I? Not that I'm saying my younger sisters are bad, but they've followed me around since we were kids. They're still very childish. Of course, I'm not saying they're bad, but would you really like a girl who's too immature? I don't think you would." Silently, I changed Freya's contact name to Big Pretentious Coquette. I replied, "Don't we already know the ending? You're out. The Big Pretentious Coquette replied, "Endings can be rewritten too. I want to be the female lead of my own life." Immediately after, another message came in. Laura sent, "Thanks so much for today. I'm sharing a song I sang with you, cute JPG. Do you like it? To show my gratitude, I can sing more songs in different styles too. Bunny JPG. Oh right. Do you want to go to the stables again the day after tomorrow to see Steven? We're really kind of destined." "Huh, you're Steven's dad, so I'd be shy." JPG. I replied, "Are you feeling better? This afternoon Steven scared you so badly. Your face was pale, your legs were weak, your lips were trembling, and your whole body went limp. I thought you were about to die." Laura replied with a whole string of ellipses. My phone vibrated again. Probably Willow. She sent, "Black stockings pick. White stockings pick. Fishnet stockings pick. Willow said nothing, she just kept aggressively sending photos. Chapter 17. A week later. Emma said she had to leave. She said, "The time machine is fixed, I should go back now." She raised her wrist, revealing what looked like a very ordinary children's watch. With my sharp eyes, I noticed a string of numbers on the inside of the strap, probably a contact number left by adults, in case Emma got lost. I stared at that sequence of digits, lost in thought. She said, "Dad, can I give you a kiss?" I lowered my head. Emma stood on her tiptoes and planted a loud kiss on me. She said, "Being able to kiss 23-year-old Dad, this trip was so much fun." I smiled and pulled her into a hug. I asked, "Emma, do you like this world?" She said, "Yes, a world with Dad is my favorite." I said, "Good girl, then we'll meet again in the future." She nodded. Dad, I also left you a gift. It's in the study, don't forget to open it." After saying that, the little girl pressed the button on her watch and hopped straight into the glowing circle. When her figure disappeared, the living room became unusually quiet. Chairman Lou couldn't bear it and secretly wiped away his tears. Grandpa Simon patted him on the shoulder in understanding. I steadied my emotions, stood up, and took a deep breath. I said, "I've decided on the person for the marriage alliance." "So soon?" Chairman Lou said. "Xiao Wang, whichever daughter of mine you choose, our Lou family will agree to it all." I swept my gaze around the room. My eyes finally settled on Willow. I said, "You." Chapter 18. The reason for choosing Willow was very simple. The phone number engraved on the inside of Emma's watch belonged to Willow. I inferred that she was most likely Emma's biological mother. If I wanted to see Emma again, I had to choose Willow. Besides, Willow also fit my requirements best. Freya was shrewd, the hardest to control. Laura worked in the entertainment industry. She was completely useless to me. Only Willow, one crook of a finger, and she'd follow. Of course, her figure was a bonus. After the wedding date was set, Willow was so happy she spun around in circles. But soon, she noticed something was wrong. Why were her eldest and second sisters always wearing her clothes and impersonating her? When Willow confronted them, Freya replied leisurely, "The marriage isn't finalized yet. May the best one win." Laura added, "Even after the marriage, it's still every woman for herself." Willow exclaimed in shock. "Second sister, even you." Laura tucked her hair behind her ear and said, "Willow, forgive your sister. I just really want to repay his kindness." Their nonsense didn't stop even after the wedding, but I always turned a blind eye. Freya gave great shoulder massages. Laura sang beautifully. Willow had excellent flexibility. Buy one, get 3 free. I gladly accepted all of it, while they were busy pulling each other's hair. I was already following Chairman Lou, getting familiar with the Lou family's businesses. My goal was to connect the businesses of the 3 families, achieving mutual benefit and steady growth. Not long after, I received the gift Emma had left behind. Makoto sneaked into my study and tampered with the work data on my computer, trying to make me mess up and get eliminated. What he didn't know was that the little elephant plush on top of the bookshelf contained a surveillance camera. On the day Emma left, I opened the gift she had left me and found a note inside. Emma wrote that the study was very important and needed to be monitored at all times. She didn't know many characters, so she replaced quite a few with pinyin, but I understood. My daughter, even right up until she left, was still doing her best to help me. I installed the camera inside the elephant's eyes and kept it running 24 hours a day. I didn't expect it to actually capture evidence. My parents were extremely disappointed. They stripped Makoto of all his positions in the company and made him move out of the Wang family home. Once he lost the Wang family's protection, that group of friends around Makoto quickly scattered. As for how his future path would unfold, it had nothing to do with me anymore. Chapter 19. 1 year after the wedding. Freya and I were chatting and laughing together at the company. Willow happened to see it. That very night, she unusually put on a white silk blouse paired with a body-hugging skirt, styled her hair into big waves, and even wore silver-rimmed glasses. I asked in surprise, "What's all this about?" She said, "Actually, you like my eldest sister's type, don't you?" I asked, "How could you tell?" She pouted. "When you talk to her, you smile so wide it practically reaches behind your ears." "Do I?" I recalled that afternoon, Freya had told me the time machine project had made a new breakthrough, and I really had been quite happy. But this wasn't the first time Willow had gone a little crazy. Sometimes she'd even cosplay Laura, just because when I played music on shuffle, it landed on a new song Laura had sung, and I never stopped her from doing any of it, because it was actually pretty novel. I had to admit, this office-style outfit on Willow had its own unique charm. Her graceful curves were outlined perfectly by the silk blouse, both restrained and seductive at the same time. But there was one thing Willow could never let go of. She said, "The day Emma appeared, You were originally planning to choose one of the three of us to marry, right? I brushed it off. I guess so. She asked. Who were you going to choose back then? I continued to be evasive. Yeah, who was it again? I forgot. As Willow swayed her hips, her eyes reddened. Was it me? Or my eldest sister? Or my second sister? I said. I really don't remember. Willow was deeply disappointed. She said. Can't you even tell me a comforting lie? She bit down on my neck resentfully, then immediately worried she'd bitten too hard. She said. I'm your good little puppy. I'm the one, I said helplessly. All right, you are, she said. That day when you touched me. Willow's voice grew subdued. I dreamed about it that night. I dreamed you wouldn't take responsibility for me. I was sad for so long. The good little puppy felt terribly wronged, but I was very good at training puppies. I leaned in to accommodate her and said. In my heart, you've always been different from the other two. That line never failed. It worked every single time, soothing Willow instantly. That night, I didn't let Willow get out of bed. 10 months later, Emma was born. Looking at her sleeping little face, I silently said to myself, welcome to this world, my treasure.